So, all my life, I grew up at the church, had Christian parents, Christian families, Christian friends. And I guess you could say I expected things to be always perfect, and they always seemed perfect, basically. But growing up, I noticed that there were things that bothered me, things that I had to deal with that I didn't understand. And recently, I've been diagnosed with something that I haven't really told anyone because it's something I'm scared to tell people, something as a youth leader at church, as a worship leader at church, I've been scared to present to people because, I don't know, I've been scared just of what people would say about me or how people would judge me. So I guess I would say it right now. I have borderline personality disorder. And what that is something I'm currently trying to figure out myself. I know it's something to deal with my unstable emotions and just the unstable relationships I have with people, and me dealing with my, personal issues and just my self-esteem itself. Because when I look back, growing up, I had the lowest self-esteem ever. I would constantly be called ugly or fat, or just teased about things that I would never tell my parents because I was shy to talk about it. And thinking about it now, just thinking about the fact that I have something called borderline personality disorder is weird, because should Christians have things like that? Should Christians have to deal with mental illness, with mental health? And the fact that I grew up in a church that was predominantly Filipino, I feel like it was pretty much taboo, I guess, only because they've never really learned how to deal with mental health, or I don't even know if they knew what mental health was. I first learned about mental health through my first year of high school. I first learned about depression, anxiety, how to deal with things like that during my first year of high school, which is 14. And honestly, I feel like it's too late for people to find out at 14 that, there are things to help with suicide, things to help with just all this sadness and emptiness. And looking back, I realized growing up at a young age, I believe when I was 7, it was the first time I've ever thought of this so-called suicide. Wanting to kill myself because I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like no one loved me. And although the church reassured that, we love you and that Jesus loves you, there were just always negative thoughts. Even up till now, I'm dealing with negative thoughts that are telling me, you can't do it, Kaithlyne. Telling me that I'm not good enough. Telling me that I can't lead a group of youth. Telling me that I have no right leading worship. And I'm not the only person dealing with something like this. There are so many young people I know nowadays who feel that they're not good enough, who feel like they don't belong. And what frustrates me is that, I know it's important to take care of people physically with their physical health, but people don't deal with mental health the same way. They look at mental health as if like it was nothing, like something that is so easy, like people can easily overcome, basically. And, at first, it was really hard for my father to understand. He's actually the pastor of the church I attend. And I know there are so many other parents out there who don't understand what their kids are going through, who don't get why they want to kill themselves, who don't get why they feel sad, because we have Jesus, right? And I understand that. I fully understand that. I really do. And I understand that He is my provider. I understand that He can comfort me. And I understand that He does help me through times of these storms. But I guess what I'm really getting at is that it's more than just telling your kids, why don't you just pray? It's more than just telling your kids, maybe you should just read the Bible more. I feel like people at the church should actually start showing or helping their loved ones how they can deal with things like depression, how they can deal with things like anxiety. Because it's more than just maybe you're not spending enough time with God. But I can tell you one thing, while dealing with all of this anxiety, with all of this depression, I do know God is there 100% with me. I have my craziest times, and my family members all know it. They've seen me at my worst, my very, very worst. And, you know, if God wasn't really present, I think they would have left me by now. I don't think they'd offer to help me. I don't think that they would even bother to try and learn with me what's really happening with my mind. And I'm guessing to all the youth that would watch this, to all the church members who would see this, to all my friends and all the other family members that I have, I don't want to hide this any longer. I don't want to just pretend that I'm okay. Because in everyone's time, in everyone's life, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a leader, whether you're a mom, a dad, no matter how old you are, there will be times where you're going to feel empty, where you feel like you're lost. Sometimes when you feel like, you know, there's no hope. But I honestly believe that through everything that I'm going through right now, God is still there with me. And I think that's the reason why I keep pushing on. Because don't get me wrong, there have been times that I wanted to give up. I think not too long ago, there's a time I had an anxiety attack, and I told my father straight up that I wanted to die, and that someone like me doesn't deserve to have a role at church as a youth leader, doesn't deserve to be looked at as a role model. But I think something that I want all the younger kids to learn is that, you know, their mental health matters. Just because you're not physically sick doesn't mean that you should just forget about what's happening with you. People should learn to take care of themselves, even if they're not sick. Because the mind, the thoughts that come in it, they're so powerful. And I've had friends who have taken their lives away because of the thoughts that have drowned their minds, saying that they're not good enough, telling them that they're not worth it. And ultimately, you know, I do pray every day, and I'm so thankful for the friends and family I have who pray every day for me, not only to get better, but to just overcome all the thoughts that I guess come into my mind. Because it is hard, and I know how hard it is to deal with mental health. And I'm just hoping and praying that churches nowadays take mental health a lot seriously, because I'm already seeing young kids starting to point out their flaws and using them to hurt themselves. Or I see kids look at Instagram posts or things on Facebook, and they try so hard to fit in, but they need to learn that they don't need that in order to be happy. You know, I always try to remind myself that we as Christians are supposed to be the light of the world. We're not supposed to try to fit into these trends. We're not supposed to want to look like the models or, you know, be a part of gangs or anything like that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you know someone who's struggling with mental health, it's more than just telling them to get closer to God. Help them find ways to figure out how they can help themselves, and just continue telling them how much you love them and how important they are to not only you, but to God.